Hello and welcome to the Hotkeys podcast. This is the show where we talk about everything pop culture and random in the world. My name is Mick, and with me as always is
Landon Browning.
And David Parker.
Whoa! Heck yeah, boys! It's March 15th, by the way.
It's a great day.
2023.
Maybe.
It's definitely 2023.
I'm waiting for the time where like Mick says it's like 2028, but like I still feel like it's 2023, and I like realize that like just 5 more years have like, slipped away. Like I'm waiting for that.
You doing okay?
Yeah. So we're starting on a happy note. I see.
No, we're great. It's a great night.
Yeah, everything's great over here. How are you?
Nothing like
we're fine here. We're all fine here.
Times,
Thank you.
Ever continuing crawl.
Turns on. Time turns on. This is going to be nothing for our, audio listeners, but I just love how sad both the camera shots of are where we're recording from. Like your room is just so dark, and then like
we just have
Mick and I look like we're like recording like a execution video, like the Middle East or something. like if there was somebody on their knees in front of the camera. Like,
it does look like a torture basement room or something. Like it's the two of you, but there's like the creepiest looking
Dave
door.
Looks like some Dave looks like some creepy hacker that just happened upon our computer.
And like
I'm in the mainframe, guys.
Yeah. Dave's view also is the one wall that does not have any decorations on it. All the other walls have stuff on them now. So
he does have the door that just randomly opens.
Oh, the closet door. I don't know what happened when I moved in this house. All the doors were really gross, and they were all just standard wood colored, and I wanted to have white doors.
What color's wood?
Tan, right?
Wood
Would that
color.
Be wood colored tan? I don't know, brown, tan. So I pulled all the doors down, and I believe when I pulled all the doors down, they all would close. They would latch. I pulled them all down, and I painted them all white and put new door hardware on. But I did mark which door went to what part of the house. Before after I took them all down, I marked them with tape. But after I put all the doors back on, almost none of them close properly. They'll close, but they don't latch.
New hardware will even change that just a little bit.
Yeah, but even after even before putting the hardware on, I don't know, it was some weird stuff was happening. The one door that closes perfectly is my closet door for my shoes, in my living room, the hallway closet, which is the one door that doesn't matter. You don't really I barely ever open it.
All doors matter.
I feel in the grand scheme that's the least important door though.
Protecting your shoes.
Yeah.
Someone comes in and steals your shoes. You gotta look.
It took me a year and a half to put a doorknob on this room's door though. I did all the other doors. I did all of them except for this.
The
one.
way you say that, it makes it sound like you were literally working on it for a year and a half.
Yeah, I've almost
constant I can't get it right.
No, I just stopped because I had to put the door stop thing on, because when I moved in the house there was a hole in the wall from somebody throwing the door open, and the doorknob went through the wall, which you can tell by my terrible patch job to the sheetrock. That's where the hole was. So
I can't tell anything.
Yeah, you can't tell the
Before we started recording, you were talking about how much patience you have when you're putting up things on your wall and working on.
I don't. I measure everything quite a bit, and then I kind of get to a point where I'm pretty sure this will roll, and then the drill bit goes in the wall, and you're well, this is where the concrete or the sheetrock anchor's got to go, so we're gonna make it work. So, but I think everything looks good, so
yeah,
good enough for me.
I think it passes the test.
I think it's slowly the house is getting to a place where it doesn't look really sad.
It just looks sad.
Hey, it's not really sad. It's just sad. Yeah. Eventually, it will look like a dwelling place and not just a place to close your eyes.
The inside of a cardboard box.
Yeah. It looks the best out of any. I've lived in 3 places on my own, and it definitely is the most homey feeling place that I've lived in. I've slowly progressed to getting more and more.
It's more of a permanent place too.
Yes,
helps.
Yeah. So, and I just feel as I've gotten older, I'm caring more about making it look nicer. So, my first apartment, I did not care at all, because in a year of living there, I think only on 3 occasions did other people step foot in it. So,
well, also you were with the understanding that you weren't going to be there very long anyway,
and I was extremely depressed.
And it was you had just moved out, so there was a lot of factors. Yeah. A lot of factors.
Yeah.
I would say.
I didn't like my apartment for the first year, and then I was like, why don't I just knock down this wall, get more natural light flowing through? I could do more of the studio apartment thing. I'll just put a curtain up. So that's what I did.
And now you love it.
I love it. Yeah, it's great. Just one big room.
Yeah. I don't know what we're talking. I don't know.
I don't know. You guys want to talk about The Last of Us?
Oh, I'd love to. That's a great segue.
The season finale just happened on the last Sunday. The 9th episode of season 1.
Yeah.
I was too busy watching the Oscars, so I wasn't able to watch The Last of Us. I saw a recap of The
You're
Last
like a
of Us,
busy
though.
person, Dave.
What do you guys think?
I thought it
loved
was
it.
very accurate
It was perfect.
representation of
Perfect.
the
Down to
video
the
game.
last minute detail.
Yeah, it was very. It felt like outside of skipping like the sewer section, which is mostly just a gameplay heavy.
Yep.
Like it felt like basically like pretty close. They added
was-
they added a little bit with Joel, but like pretty much it felt like shot for shot almost.
So they did add like the opening scene, which I think is one of the best sequences in the whole show, is Anna, Ellie's mom, who's played by Ashley Johnson, the original Ellie from the games. That scene was awesome. And just, I think you and I were talking about this. Just like hearing her voice, because she has such a distinct voice and it's so tied to Ellie that as soon as you hear her on screen, you just have like this emotional reaction and instant connection. You're like, oh, I know that voice. I know her.
I had a really hard time watching that whole sequence because it felt like I was watching like game Ellie die basically, and like it was like pretty tough. I'm like, no. But yeah, it was really good. Some like key like backstory stuff that we've got actually quite a bit of that in the show. Like it's really fleshed out stuff that the game did not go into detail for, and really it wouldn't have made sense for the game to have that because I don't know.
Yeah, not really. I think some of it was like alluded to in some comics, and I think Neil Druckmann has like talked about kind of the idea of like Ellie's beginning and stuff, but it's never been, I don't think, shown or anything. So
yeah, and gave us, definitive, at least from what I could see, is the definitive reason why she's immune.
yeah, and I love it too because it doesn't, in my mind, it doesn't take away anything from like, oh, I wanted it to be like just complete happenstance, and it doesn't take away anything from the fact that she is immune. And I feel like even if like someone tried to recreate that,
It would be really.
I don't think it would. I don't think that's something that like, oh, that works every time.
Yeah.
I think it's still down to like luck and.
Plus,
And
I
also,
was I was under the impression that it seemed like that's what they thought, that it wasn't necessarily like confirmed to the characters, but that's just why they think it happened, right?
Yeah. And honestly, at first I was a little bit bummed because I'm like, oh, like it like gives like a way where like, okay, there's probably other people that are like that they could try to recreate it. But honestly,
But there
everybody
are.
that
Joel
knows
said there
about
are.
her
There's dozens of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't do any good though.
But like everybody that knows that she was like that whole story, like Marlene was the only one that knew. Like the story, like with the mom, like seeing it, so like she's dead. So like there's nobody left really to like recreate, like, or at least know, like, you couldn't try to recreate it with anything because everybody that knows about that's dead at that point.
I love it too how, and this is gonna sound like George Lucas here, but I love how the two like actual like parental people in Ellie's life, Anna, even though it was a very short time, and then Joel, they both have to do this like monstrous lie to save her, like over everybody else's well-being. I just love how that tied back to what Anna did.
Yeah, I think you can
was
tell
like-
that Marlene kind of knows. That
I think she
probably
probably
lying.
did.
Yeah.
But again, that's something that's so brilliant about the shows. They have so many of those moments that's like, it's kind of vague. They don't really give an answer. And there's a giant one of those at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
But that's something that just makes this story so unique and so like universally just talked about. Like,
Yeah. It's also just the gut wrenching fact of like when they're in the hospital talking about like, the cordyceps and stuff, like, and they're talking about doing the surgery, like Joel immediately knows. He's like, oh, like it's in her, like everybody knows like the cordyceps is in your brain.
mm-hmm.
So like it kind of makes it seem like Marlene probably knew from the very beginning that Ellie was probably going to die when they like got her there, right?
I think she probably knew. There's no way that Joel like ran that through his mind and was like, yeah, I'm still going to take this kid all this way. If he knew that, I don't think that he would have done that at all.
From the start?
Even from the start. I don't think so.
I'm not sure because Marlene, like, they only gave her to Joel and Tess to do that because, they needed them. And then also they knew that, like, they're both like, Joel and Tess were not good people. also. So they're like, I don't know. It seemed odd that like Marlene, like, you know, Joel wakes up in the hospital and Marlene like tells him that she's going to die. I don't know if she would have told him that if she thought that like he would have had that kind of reaction to it. You know what I mean? Like she probably just figured that like,
well, I
oh,
mean,
this
he
is
was going to
Joel.
find out one way or the other, because then he'd be like, hey, so how's Ellie doing? And then they're like, oh, yeah. So,
She died 3 weeks ago.
yeah, so yeah, we
Yeah.
had to like basically remove her whole brain. So like he was going to find out one way or the other, and it probably just was an oversight on her part of just being in the moment and being, you know, honest.
Yeah.
And saying like, yeah, like she's
And I do
not
think, I mean, this is
walking
this
away
is
from
I'm
this.
trying to remember. I think there's, and this is spoiler for the second game, but I think there is a flashback scene with Marlene and the doctor
There is,
talking, and there's like a conflict of like, so maybe she didn't know beforehand. I forgot about that scene where Marlene.
Well, I don't think she knows
Like
how,
a-
because they just know that she's immune. They don't know how. It isn't until later when the doctor says it's all in her brain. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I mean, yeah, you can still tell that from Marlene's point of view. Like, it's still extremely hard for her to make this decision.
Yeah.
She's just different than Joel, that she actually does go through with it and like,
Yeah.
no, this is the right thing to do. Ellie would have wanted this also, and you know it. Like,
That's a big point of this, that it's what Ellie would have wanted. And you can kind of tell with Ellie's attitude towards, like in the last episode, like she's kind of mopey and stuff. Like I kind of wonder if she didn't think that she maybe was going to die from whatever.
I don't know. And this is something that's different than the game. And I don't know if I like missed something in the show, but in the game, when you're taken by the fireflies, Ellie's already unconscious.
I think so, right?
Yes, because she's like basically drowned and you're there trying to resuscitate her. And then you get knocked out by the fireflies and then you wake up in the hospital. It's kind of insinuated that Ellie's been kind of unconscious this whole time.
That's what I thought in the game. I haven't played it for a while, right? Like she basically went from like unconscious there to the surgery room.
That's
basically.
what I always thought, because I'd wonder what she would have. I mean, she probably might have still made the same decision, but like to hear her be like, "Oh, I'm gonna die from this. I'm still gonna do it."
Yeah.
Because in the show, that's kind of what it seems like probably happened.
They said they didn't tell her she was going to die.
Oh, they
though.
didn't tell her. Okay.
In the show, they said that they told her they
Okay.
were just going to run some tests. They were putting her under, which is also like another level of like pretty messed up. That like they're gonna
See,
like.
that-
But
yeah,
but
then
in the after thing, because I watched it because I finally finished the show. In the after thing, I think it was the writer. He was explicit in saying that like it was like she was fine with dying if it was going to be like cause a cure.
Yeah.
Even if she's fine with it, it still is like a knock off of Marlene and the Fireflies for not being like straightforward with her. That's the point that I'm getting at, because a lot of people will like look at the Fireflies and be like, no, this is the right choice. It's, you know,
Oh, I mean, I
for
think
the greater good type of thing, like one life for all of humanity type of thing.
we all know that like.
That Joel made the right choice.
I mean, no. Like I think in my opinion, I think like he made like. I'm not saying he didn't do what I would have done also, but I think like morally he did like probably like definitively the wrong thing.
And I think that's what's so brilliant about the ending is like there's not like 100% a right answer on what he did, because you can make a great argument for either way.
I mean, I think he did it out of like a love, but like it's also like such an extremely selfish decision. Like in my opinion, like he found like he was able to find some sense of purpose and love and like joy in his life from Ellie that he like lost with his daughter. And instead of being like, I'm going to do this for the greater good of humanity, I'm going to be very selfish and I'm going to take her from what she wants, what's the right thing to do, and take her away from it so I can keep living and find some kind of purpose and like
Yeah.
And
redemption or something.
I don't think Joel is like a hero. I don't think he's necessarily like a good person, but he's a guy that lost his daughter 20 years before, has been like basically just a walking corpse all this time. They added a point in the show, which I thought was another cool detail, was that he like was so low at one point that he tried to take his own life. And that's where that scar came from.
Yeah.
And that's not in the game. And it just adds to like just the despair and just how low he was as a person after he lost Sarah. And then just him being alive again, feeling like he has, you know, someone to protect, someone to love again. I think that's just...
He makes a very human decision.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
especially because there's even more emphasis on like when he's talking to Tommy, how he feels like he's scared of like letting somebody down. Like he feels like he's a failure his entire life. Like everybody's like cared about, kind of like.
And that's one thing that they set up so well in the show was just like constantly driving to the point that Joel feels like a failure.
Yep.
He says it multiple times. He talks to Tommy about it, and it just makes all the more sense of why, whether you think it's right or not, why he made that decision at the end.
Yeah. Which I love the way they shot him, like
it
just,
was
like slaughtering everybody.
It was like hauntingly beautiful. I mean, because the music choice was so like somber and sad, and then there's this guy just like being like prime, almost John Wick style, just like going through them all, even people that are surrendering to him.
Oh yeah,
he knows that like if I keep going, he's gonna pick up his gun again and just shoot. So I just have to end him there.
Yeah, it's like he murders them all like really quickly, like just efficiently.
Yeah.
Well, I
like
think
when
I think too, it wasn't necessarily that he was doing it quickly or efficiently. I think I think it's kind of hard to tell, but I think it's like technically a montage of him doing this. So like there's a lot of time skipped and jumped through, and I think it was like a good decision to do it that way because they can cut out all the huge like video gamey moments of like making the section seem longer.
When I did that
but
section
also
for me in the game is like
all
me
of the
frantically
violence,
like diving around and like murdering people like a lunatic.
But it also was like
make another nail bomb.
It like his I guess kill count through the show is like all at the very end, and they like really like they really have it all compact just like back to back to back, and it just makes it seem so like oh my goodness.
Yeah, no, the way they shot that was, I think, perfect for the show.
Yeah.
We got the draft scene.
Yep.
Like perfectly. It was like,
and it, dude,
shot for shot.
I guess it was a real giraffe. It looked. I was the only one that, like, it felt like it looked, something was weird about it. I don't know if it was the lighting.
So
was
I've
used
seen
or something.
some.
Like,
I've seen some behind the scenes stuff, and I heard that they shot like at some zoos, but I didn't know if it was like a real giraffe.
It wasn't real. It
they
wasn't
only
real
showed
giraffe.
like the top, like the neck of it. So I didn't know if it was like part animatronic, and then they like touched up stuff digitally afterwards.
It was
But
definitely
actually,
part CG. Like,
yeah. I thought it was convincing enough.
Yeah.
Because I think they even hired Weta Digital, and they're like the prime people to go to for creature stuff. So I'm sure that they had a hand in it.
Yeah. Yeah. The draft scene was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it was really just, hey, this worked perfectly in the game. Why would we change it?
I mean, I literally have the display to that scene.
Yeah.
Like, it's so good. Like, it's just such a great moment.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might have hit a little better in the game just because you're playing through all the like gauntlet of everything.
I mean, you definitely feel more like Joel.
Yeah.
Like you feel like that person.
The game makes you really feel like Joel.
Really feel the Joel.
You know, they would have that in the reviews as the game came out after the show. They're like, the game really makes you feel like Joel Miller.
Oh, I saw something so funny. So there's a clip going around of a guy that has found like the origin of Joel Miller. I don't know if you've seen this, Dave, but
what's it called?
It's a clip.
Origin of Joel Miller.
Miller?
It's a clip from UHF, and the kid who's on the mechanical horse who finds the marble in the oatmeal, his name is Joel Miller. And it ties into like, oh, he was an oatmeal, so he doesn't like to eat wheat products anymore, and all this stuff and connectivity, and they tied it in like in a really funny way. I was like, I forgot that kid's name was Joel Miller. That's so funny. Oh, Joel Miller, you found the marble in the oatmeal.
You get to drink from the fire hose. That's Kramer from Seinfeld, who's saying all that in UHF.
That's a great. Have you seen that movie?
I haven't.
Oh gosh, we gotta watch that movie.
Yeah.
That's a great movie. Great. Yeah, Joel Miller's in it.
Dude.
A young Pedro Pascal. Yeah, what else about the episode?
Shout out to they had Laura Bailey. Laura, the voice of Abby, played one of the nurses.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I guess she actually played that nurse in the game too.
oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, so the great execution scene.
They executed the execution scene.
Or like, I mean, when he walks into the surgery room and it's just like blows that dude's head off.
I was kind of surprised that he let the two nurses live.
I mean, he does. I mean, actually, in my
because in the game, I mean, I'm
not gonna say that I killed. I didn't kill all the nurses, and I didn't not kill any of them. I think I shot one of them.
Hmm.
I was a little panicky. I was a little a little jumpy with the trigger. I've seen like clips of people like bursting in there with like the flamethrower.
Oh, and just torching them,
torching everybody.
And somehow it doesn't get Ellie.
Yeah.
I did think they
Ellie's
were gonna
immune to
like.
flame too.
I did think they were gonna like draw that out since they had the opportunity to be like, well, we know that this is gonna be an important character later. But I was actually glad that they just did it really quickly.
I would agree with you. Initially I was like really expecting them to set up stuff more for the second game.
I did.
And even in that moment too, yeah, like make it seem more important what just happened there. And there was like a shot where it just lingered on him for like maybe 2 seconds, and that was it.
Yeah.
But the ending of the game is so like tight and it fits. I think if they tried to add more stuff to kind of expand on that, I think it would have taken away from like what the point of the ending of this game was.
Yeah.
And that's still going to be a really cool reveal down the road.
I mean, it really, because I thought they were going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
But then also, they hadn't been greenlit for a second season when they filmed the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, the more I thought about it, I'm like, you're not supposed, like, as the player, you're not supposed to know
Yeah, exactly.
any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, so it's kind of supposed to.
In that moment, he's just another person that's
Yeah.
a threat to Ellie.
Yeah. To be fair, I mean, he had like a scalpel. Like, Joel could have totally just like pistol whipped him to the face. Like,
Nope. Sharp object, you're going down.
yeah.
I mean, honestly, he's the one that's like going to be ending Ellie's life.
Yeah.
So he's probably the one that mostly he wanted to
Kill.
make sure he's gone.
I won't let you take me.
He didn't even look.
Boom.
No look. Pistols only.
He dropped that guy so fast. He got like one step towards Joel and
Yeah.
Joel just like blew his head off.
But yeah, I love how they like kept the editing the same when Joel, he takes the elevator down. He meets up with Marlene. Like all of that is like exactly how the game works.
They keep cutting back to the truck. Is there actually though? It was not. I don't believe in the game. I think it was a truck or something. In the film, it's a Dodge Durango.
Uh-oh.
Not realistic.
And honestly, I'm going to be honest. The Dodge Durango looked newer than like what it should have been. Like, I mean, it looked newer than an 03.
It looked more like an 06 to me.
It actually kind of looked, more like those like
06,
2000
08.
Durangos. So yeah, I sent Neil an email.
Yeah, I'm getting those girls 4.
Yeah,
4 out of
I
10.
sent Neil an email. I said, hey,
They did such a good job on
Yeah.
Bill's truck, and then they just dropped them. All the car finances went to that truck.
yeah.
That was probably Pedro's car.
Pedro's.
I don't know why it was in the end.
Yeah.
I just said driven. Drove.
Droven.
I think Pedro
Droven.
Pascal probably has a nicer car than like an 06 Durango. But like maybe not. Maybe he loves.
Yeah, he has an 08
humble guy.
Durango.
An 08.
He splurged and got a 10. But yeah, just that whole like, oh, did he take Marlene's deal at the end?
Yeah.
And it lingers on it for like just the right amount of time, and then you hear Ellie in the back of the scene.
What happened?
Ellie at the dentist.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love that they kept it in like that. He just like Marlene like begs for her life basically at the end and be like, oh, just like let me. And he's like, nah, you just come after her.
I think too,
Come
if
after
she
her.
would have just like not said anything, he probably would have just left.
Yeah.
But the fact that he was like,
Oh, you're still.
"Oh, you're still alive," and you're saying, "Just let me go,"
Yeah.
and that's why he says, "You just come after her."
Yeah. He's a brutal guy. I mean, Joel, like he's.
And that's the thing. I don't think Joel is a good person.
No.
And I've heard a lot of people say like, "Oh, he's like this was a twist. He's the villain at the end," which I don't go that far. I can understand why people say that, but I mean, he's definitely like an anti-hero,
Yeah.
I would say, who made a very interesting decision.
I think it's like a selfish, right? In my opinion, I think it's a selfish.
Will had made a really good argument of why it wasn't a selfish decision, but I don't remember what it was.
It probably wasn't that great then.
It was. I thought it was really good. I was like, "Oh yeah, that's great," and then I forgot what it was.
Yeah, I
But
think
this
it's
was like
I think
2-3 years ago.
I think it's probably a pretty selfish decision. I think too because we often try to think about it from Joel's perspective, and I think we not often enough try to approach it from Ellie's perspective and how we would think about
she's
it.
a kid. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Well, for those that haven't played the second game, the ramifications of that play heavily into
Yeah,
that.
uh-huh.
You know.
Unjust.
So I think when you think about it that way, like I don't think it's like controversial to say that that was a villainous thing to do, and it's not bad that he's the villain. He can still be an interesting character in the story.
So do you think
of the
he
Last
is
of
the
Us,
villain then at the end?
I would say probably he's the foil to what the whole plan was and what everything was supposed to happen. He was kind of the
You're a
antithesis
terrible person.
to what Ellie's purpose was and what she wanted to do. So I would say
There's a I think they cut this line out. It's after they leave the hospital and they're there and she tells them about Riley.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the game there's a line she says like they're like we're gonna wait out the we're gonna wait till we lose our minds or whatever, like, you know, and like, and she turned and I had to kill her, and I think she says something along the lines, she's like, I'm still waiting for my turn, like,
she
to
does
go.
say that in the game. Yeah,
I don't think she says it in the show. I think it's just another indicative, like, she was totally willing to, like, and she wanted that sacrifice, like, if it meant, you know what I mean, like, everybody she's lost, you know, was infected or died, you know, horribly. I mean, her friend Riley, the kid Sam, Tess. All these,
it was definitely
mom.
insinuated though with their conversation.
Yeah,
still.
and I mean, I think you can. I mean, the second game plays it up, but I think she knows that he's lying in that moment.
I
too.
think so.
Yeah,
And it was interesting hearing them talk about in the podcast that Neil Druckmann, who's the showrunner? Craig Mazin, Troy Baker, and Ashley Johnson, they all had a different take on what her okay meant. And it was just interesting to hear, like, wow, even the people that are like highly involved with the story in both versions are still like, it's up for debate still. There's no like concrete, like, yeah, this is what's happening and this is what these characters mean.
yeah. I think I don't know if he's not a good person. The more I think about it. I mean, he made probably, I'm not saying I probably would have done the same thing that Joel did, but like, I think it's the wrong decision, especially considering like in the grand scheme of things, like he made probably one of the most like influential decisions that like anybody's ever made for like humanity, like in that moment, like, because like if it is like, let's say it is like a repeatable thing that, you know, if someone gets pregnant and they get bit, you know, 10 seconds before they give birth and they cut the, like, that's how like you make people immune, like that's, even if it's repeatable, like I said, like everybody that knew that happened is dead at this point, and no one would ever think of that. And even then, like you said, like it might not work every time.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna really like have like a factory of like, you know, women that you have like get pregnant. Yeah. Like, now we're gonna have you get bit right before like you give birth. Like
bite her now,
just on the off chance that your kids, you know, and then if your kid is immune, then we're gonna like cut them. We're gonna cut their head open and like, you know.
Yeah. Oh, it turns out that your kid's actually infected. I guess we have to kill both of you.
Yeah. Like. Yeah. Which they could totally do something like some creepy horror stuff with that in like a future game or season or something. If there are people trying to repeat, you know, like
that'd be so messed up.
Yeah, but I mean, I've heard people argue like, well, like they don't know if it was going to actually cure it or not. Like,
I mean, you could make that assumption, but then you can also make the assumption that it would work.
I think that like
But
I think
she
they believed it would work.
I think she was okay with giving it a shot.
I think Joel probably believed it would have worked. They wouldn't have. I think if neither of them thought it would work, they wouldn't have gone all that way.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Plus, I heard another point made that like not only did he like, you know, take her away from that, but he killed probably one of the handful of people left on Earth that like would be able to capable of doing that surgery and knowing how to make that vaccine. I mean, like how many brain surgeons are left? Like,
it's a good thing you left the two nurses. They can learn.
Well, I mean. You know what I mean? Like,
how hard can it be?
I mean, what was the world population in 2003?
Oh, like 5 billion, 6 billion?
I feel like it was somewhere around there.
2 billion?
I think it was higher than 2. But
Google says 6.3 billion. 6.38 billion.
Let's go.
So what are we guessing? How many people are alive in the Last of Us 20 years later? How many people are still?
I don't know. You guys kept throwing the name or the number around 50 million. I have no idea where you got that. Is that from the show directly or was that just a guess?
No, it's just like a random number.
Just guess.
Okay. Because I have no idea. I have no clue.
I mean, it's under a billion.
I'm
right?
changing
It's under a billion for sure, right?
Is it 50,000?
I mean, I don't know. They're in like massive cities where there's like nobody.
Well, all the massive cities they
bombed.
Mostly bombed.
So. They bombed, and then like people that survived were like. I mean, I'm going to assume I would say under 100 million would be my guess of people left.
I think it's going to be less than
number.
6 billion for sure.
Yes, less.
What makes you think that?
Dude,
I don't pull that number out of
just assumptions, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and Joel could have honored her too by like being like, I love this person. I could have like, you know, because it's like making the cure is just the first step too. then you have to protect it from lunatics. You know what I mean? You have to distribute it. You have to manufacture it. You have to get the word out.
Well, who knows too, like how the Fireflies would actually be when they have the actual cure.
Yeah.
Like, would they?
I mean, because they are. I mean,
would they be like
terrorist
Would they?
organization?
Yeah. Would they go to Fedra and be like, "Hey, look what we have"? Probably not.
F you.
Yeah. They would probably like be selective about who they give it to.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean,
That's again like you could have like
you have to try.
You could
right?
have so many like what if this? What if that? And that's what makes it interesting to talk about.
Yeah. So yeah. But I mean, Joel could have honored it that way. Be like, all right, I'm going to stay with you guys, and I'm going to help. Like, I don't know. Like, he could have had a talk with Ellie, be like, you know what? Like, I'm going to stay with them, help distribute it, make sure that's like your life means something. Like, and that could have been like a loving way to like honor her and find purpose. So.
Yeah. And I guess that like I'm thinking the way that the cure would work is everyone would just be like how Ellie is.
Yep.
Like she just can't get infected. I don't think they could go to someone that's already infected and be like,
I don't think so.
Hey,
hit up a
Mr.
bloater.
Mr. Mushroom
Mr.
Face.
Bloater.
No, it's like it's like Marvel. Like everyone snaps back into existence. All the zombies.
I think it would. Yeah,
boy, does
I think
my
you would have
head
to do it
hurt."
before someone got bit.
Yeah, I think so.
Because I mean, the clickers, like their heads are like split open, so they're
Yeah.
But I mean, I can't remember how it works. I mean, if the infected are they like tearing people apart? I mean, it's not like The Walking Dead where they're eating them. It seems like they bite them once.
I mean, the freaking bloaters rip people's heads off.
that was a great scene.
I think they definitely do get torn apart, and they even say that to Ellie.
Yeah,
Like, hey,
flickers. I think
you
do,
can't get
don't they?
infected, but you could get ripped apart out there.
Because the infected seem to, but won't they? I'm trying to think because the infected also think that Ellie's infected when they're around her, right?
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, she got bit a second time.
I don't
That was
know.
because she was fighting that one that was like clawing some
I don't
like.
know how it works because they were still trying to bite her.
But then after Tess is infected, that they just run by her like they don't.
Yeah,
they're not trying to attack
well, that's
her, so I'm like-
because, and they explain it that Tess wasn't fighting it. They said if she had tried to run or fight back, then it would have been okay. Tear her.
Oh,
apart.
okay.
The fact that she was just like letting it happen, and that's what they talk about, like how the cordyceps are like this beautiful, terrifying thing where, and even David says it, where the cordyceps love, and that
He just never got to be a part of it.
exactly, yeah. But that's how like they want it to happen is just like, hey, join us type of thing.
Yeah.
And I mean that's creepy on a whole different level too. But yeah, I don't know.
But I mean, I think still having the cure would, I mean, it'd be the start of getting back to something.
Probably.
Because I mean, then you could, I mean, people could still get bit and it wouldn't be the end of the world. Because I feel like at this point in the world, most people that are dying from it are just getting like casually bit. It's not like it's frantic, and then you could move in an organized way to kill. Because then if you killed off the rest of the infected left, then that would just kind of be the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially, I mean, it's kind of insinuated too. I think like 100 more years down the road, I think almost all of them would be gone for the most part. I mean, some would keep turning to clickers, but a lot of them just,
theoretically, yeah.
I mean, a lot of them just die or like would get morphed into the walls or whatever. I think, I mean, I think there's kind of an end date to most of them.
Right. It's just like who could outlast.
Yeah. So if you have the vaccine, though, then you're never adding any more numbers to.
Yeah.
So that is if everybody got the vaccine,
Yeah.
you could anti-vax it up. I'm not afraid of cordyceps.
That wouldn't happen.
Do you have any like real life examples of that?
Nope.
Yeah, but yeah, I think the show just did such a good job at just they really like had everything essential that was in the game and just made it accessible for TV.
Yep.
Like I think this is like the perfect way to like view the story if you don't play video games.
Yeah.
Because it's still a brilliant story, and there it is. Now you can.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, if you don't like video games, I mean, I'm trying to think if they're about equivalent to me, like enjoyment level.
Yeah.
Like, so if you don't like video games, if it was like, if you don't like video games, I'm not gonna be like, well, no, you should really try to just play the game. I just like, no, watch the show.
Yeah.
If you don't like video games, just watch it. You're gonna get 90%. Just like with the Uncharted games and the Uncharted movie. I mean, if you really don't like Uncharted, I mean, just watch the movie. It's basically.
I haven't
the
seen
same
it yet. I'm really excited to watch it one late night.
No kidding. I'm gonna Papa John's.
I will say, like, if I had a knock on the show, it would probably be that I feel like there weren't enough infected shown.
Yeah.
And I get why there were probably multiple reasons why they didn't show them as much. One, because most of the time when you come across them in the game, it's like actually gameplay. Two, it's probably money. And then 3, they always said that like, oh, it would get repetitive and old, which I don't really buy that necessarily. But towards the end, it's like we went like 3-ish episodes. There were some flashback stuff, but like basically 3 episodes without really seeing any infected. And towards the end, like I could buy people being like, so they're really trying to get this cure, and like, where are the infected? When's the last time we saw an infected? So
yeah, I get
stuff like that.
But I mean, they also set the tone enough. I mean, when you watch what happens in the Kansas City, cute, like with all the coming out of the ground, it's like it's still clearly like
that was
I know,
horrifying.
I understand that, but it's like I feel like
I love that.
I feel like they kind of left that behind. And on the other side, like the reason why I love the story is not for the infected. It's just a really cool, unique backdrop for this very intimate story told between a daughter and a father.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was kind of like, man, I really want to see like some kind of action scene here and there, because they really did like dive deep into like the drama side of it. I just wish that there was a little bit more here.
I heard they're going to have more in the second. They said they're going to have more.
Gosh, yeah, I feel like you have to.
I wonder also if they were trying to feel like zombie shows have gotten it, with The Walking Dead, like.
And that's the thing too.
I wonder
Like,
if they wanted to like really separate them so that this isn't
Yeah.
a zombie show.
Yeah.
Like this is higher tier,
But the real Walking Dead aren't the zombies, Landon.
Gosh dang it. Just quit acting like you know the way. You know the rules. There are no rules, man.
But yeah, I mean, again, that's such a small nitpick because the rest of it is like so well done.
I hope the only infected, I'm trying to think, there's some really cool infected parts in the second game.
Part 2.
Yeah.
The rat
I don't even
king
want to
or whatever.
Yeah, that. And then I really love one of my favorite sequences in the entire game is the first time, and the spoilers for the second game, when you're playing as Abby, in the very beginning of the game, when you're playing with her in the snow and you're with Joel and Tommy and you're running.
Oh yeah.
Like that frantic, like there's like a scene where you're like going between a chain link fence and they're like slamming up against it and it's like crushing against you. You're like, that whole sequence was terrifying.
Yeah.
Like that, like, was like frantic, like you're running and there's so many of them. Like I hope they keep that in, because I was like, I feel like that set the tone with the game like really quickly of like how intense that game is. Which the second game is extremely intense, like, and way more violent than the first game. And I wonder, like I definitely felt like the game captured like the violence more than the show did, outside of it, because of the gameplay of you doing repeated things over and over again. Like,
the game is way more graphic too.
yeah,
Way
so I
more
wonder. I
graphic.
mean, the second game has way more horrific things happening, especially to like even more like mainline characters. So I'm like, are they going to up the ante with the violence? Which I
think
kinda
because
hope
of
they
the
do, 'cause,
I think
like-
because the themes of the second game, they would really have to, because it's integral to kind of, I think, Ellie's unraveling
Arc.
and
Yeah.
her arc.
That's one of the few times playing a game where like I was starting to feel kind of sick towards the end, where I'm like the level of violence was so high where I'm like, I don't really like, I've never been bothered by that at all. Like I played like Doom and stuff, you know what I mean? Where but like when you're like,
I think it's because the characters feel so real.
yeah, the graphics are so good and like the animations and like when you like,
Well, and just the voice acting, and like
Yeah.
you've been with these characters for a whole previous game. They just do such a good job at selling you. Like, I feel so connected to this character.
yeah. Or, I mean, you have an explosive bow and arrow. Like, I mean, like, every time
I
like
forgot
someone
about
pop
that.
and I just like I hit them and then they just like explode and
And then you hear someone go, Jimmy, no.
yeah, like I mean, like, or you shoot them in like the throat.
Clarence,
you shoot them in the
no!
throat and they like hit, like they like slump to the ground. And they're like gurgling and like grabbing at their throat for like 10 seconds. And you're like, oh my god, like what did it like what did I just do?
What's his
Like,
name? Is it Brian in like episode 4 or something? Like, no, my name's Brian.
yeah, that's what it feels like every time you like kill somebody that's like women in the game. They're like, please, no, please. And I'm like, the game has scripted you that if I don't kill you, you're gonna pick up a gun and try to kill me. So I'm gonna have to kill you now. Like I don't feel good doing it. And, like,
What would Joel Miller do?
or like when the dogs like jump on you and like,
Oh gosh.
and you like stab it and it's like, and you're like, oh, like no, like, yeah. I hope they make it as final as the game, because I don't want to feel sick.
I think it services the story better, and I think I will like the story of The Last of Us 2 a lot better in like a visual medium than
You've always
than-
said that because
than-
I'm not making the choices in a TV show. So my Dave impression.
That's pretty good.
That was a pretty good impersonation.
People will literally think that like.
Do you want me to do a
You said
Landon
that.
impersonation?
Oh no! Please,
No,
don't,
please. No, we only do impersonations of people who aren't here. Okay, Colby, ready, go.
Whoa, where's Colby come from?
Okay, Landon. Will.
I can't.
Nice.
No.
Do Jordan.
So Carson Wentz got picked up by the Rams.
Wait, did he really?
No, that's just.
Oh.
Please don't.
Yeah, I'm excited for season 2.
Yeah, I think after I'm getting close to being done with Hogwarts Legacy. Once I finish that, I'm gonna jump back in, play part 2 again. Last of Us Part 2. I've only played it once, so
Same.
especially after this first season of the show, I'm like, I really want to.
Man, I just don't.
I want to get depressed.
I want to play the game, but like, man, that game like messed me up.
I mean, that I have my issues with that game, but even like still today, it like has an effect on me. Like, there's something about that story that just sticks with you.
I bawled my eyes out at the end of that
God,
game. I was
man.
bawling like on my like chair or couch.
It's just so emotionally draining.
Yeah, I remember being like pretty like in a weird mood for like weeks after beating it.
It's just it's so hard to explain like how you feel.
I remember like being mad, being like really sad,
Yeah.
like just like, and it's also like it's actually really fun to play too. Like
It's a real
until you hit the point where you're like I've killed so many people, like
my arms getting tired.
and I'm like it's all felt so real. Like,
Yeah. Anything else about the first season?
No, I thought it was extremely like accurate representation of the game. Like I was really surprised how much the show seemed like it was like straight ripped from the game.
There's literal scenes that feel like they're like shot for shot. Like when they're driving like the truck in the first episode through the town,
Basically shot for shot.
like it feels like straight out of
This last episode, like basically the whole episode was straight from the game. Yeah, this definitely sets the highest bar for the best video game adaptation for a show. Or
takes
a
the
movie.
title from much.
Yeah, barely.
Yeah,
Just barely. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the credit goes to just how great the story is.
yep. But I mean, there's been great stories that have been adapted terribly, like
That's true.
other books or video games and stuff.
I think a big reason too why it did so well is that Neil Druckmann was so heavily involved.
Yeah,
And I feel like that's kind of the lesson that needs to be learned here is like, hey, get the people that have like worked on this before and, kind of let them tell you what to do.
yeah.
Well, I think plus it was such a good story that they were able to like Doom, the Doom movie. I haven't seen it, but I don't think they just like
Did Doom
it
with The Rock?
with The Rock, like from 2004 or something.
Oh no.
I don't think it was like a straight
Demons
adaptation
coming out of the
of,
hole in Mars. What?
of any of the games. I think it was essentially like
Hey man, I'm running out of ammo.
it's almost like they were licensing the name Doom and then made a movie where
Made a Rock
this
movie with-
they had such a good story that it was like a literal adaptation of the game, and it was a very close adaptation of the game.
Yeah, and that's what
Yep.
we were.
And
that's
I,
what we were saying.
I don't think many. I can't
Games
even
have
think what would be
strong
a
stories.
second place behind The Last
Game?
of Us because
for a show that's
Yeah.
been adapted I can't.
I can't really think of anything at all.
The
Show
only other
or,
video game
or
that I would
movie, I guess. Also,
honestly, I can't think of many that I would want. I mean, this is kind of mean, but like, there's not a lot of video games that have like super strong stories.
no, I think that's a fair critique.
Like the only other one that I would like that I would like be like if I heard that like HBO was like gonna adapt Red Dead Redemption 2 into like a 3 or 4 season like TV show.
It's Deadwood. You just have to watch Deadwood.
I need to watch it. I've watched the first episode. I don't know why I didn't watch more, but like I'm like I could maybe get behind that, but like I feel like that'd be even harder to pull off than The Last of Us. But
Yeah, it would definitely have to be a miniseries, not a movie.
yeah, the Red Dead
And-
Redemption 2 movie, 90 minutes long.
Starring Mark Wahlberg as
Mark
Arthur
Wahlberg as I would
And-
lose my mind. I would lose
and
my-
Tom, what's his name? Tom Spider-Man.
Holland.
Tom Holland
Tom-
as
Tom
As
Holland is
John
Dutch.
March.
Ugh.
Gosh.
Can you just imagine Tom Holland with like the Dutch mustache telling Mark Wahlberg, "I have a plan." Like,
No, I can't.
What's an equivalent of
I
Papa
really
John's
can't.
that they could be in? And Arthur's going, we're in a...
I'm in a Golden Corral,
the original?
the original Golden Corral. What do you guys want from season 2 then? So it's been greenlit. I've heard them say that they're not going to be doing the entire second game, I believe.
It's going to be broken up into 2 seasons.
Yep.
Which is really smart because this game has a lot more to it.
And there's a lot more they can explore that like is not in the game additive material. I feel like they can really have some more filler episodes. Not really filler, but like more like
as long as it's serving the story, if they're not taking away from like what's actually happening, then that's great. And they should do that.
Yeah.
Part 2 is just so overly complicated when you compare it to part 1.
Yeah.
That I feel like they have their work cut out for them.
Yeah. I don't know if they can tell the story the same way that they do in the game.
I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know.
Yeah, I keep going back and forth in my mind about like they need to combine the 2 halves or they need to keep them split. Like I think there's pros and cons of both. I don't know.
It would be crazy. It would be extremely bold if they did it the way it's told in the game. I feel like that'd be insane to be like, we're going to do season 2 is going to be Ellie's part of the story and it's going to end where it does. And then it's and then you're going to wait. Then you're going to wait a year and a half or 2 for the 3rd season. It's going to be all Abby.
I mean, I could see that. I could see that being something HBO does though. Like those type of shows do things like that where you don't have the same kind of cast for a whole, like 10 episodes or something. Like that would not surprise me if they did that. And I think they could pull it off. And I think
what if they did Abby's side first?
I don't think you can do.
I think that'd be too weird.
That'd be messed up because you're like, man, I like all these characters now. And then you like watch Ellie start butchering them.
Well, that
like, actually, that could.
That's honestly the problem though with Abby is like at least with me, like
most of these people die.
I'm like I'm not buying this character side of things. Like I've been invested so much in these other characters. I don't think they'll do that, but like I feel like that would be a way to be like, hey, I'm getting invested in these characters, and then maybe like. I mean, they could change stuff around where at the end of the season you find out, oh, this character's this, and she just murdered. I guess we're spoiling stuff, but she murders Joel.
What?
But that's the thing. Like, part 1 is so straightforward, and it's just really like a point A to point B story.
Yeah.
The part 2 has so many different branches and different sides and views of things. Like, I'm really curious to see what they'll do because
1 minute you're collecting like playing cards, and then the next minute you're collecting quarters, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like
I'm just excited to see if like television audiences can be more mature than like the video game audiences, with like the themes and stuff of the story, like some of the
I think probably I don't think it's very hard to be
more
mature than like general video game audiences.
Because the reception to that game was like so incredible.
Not to knock on gamers, but gamers
game, but to like the voice actors.
Oh, and
Neil Druckmann, like
they're like Neil Cuckman.
I mean, I'm
gonna put gay people in my game. Like,
well, not even that. I mean, like just like so, like the voice actor of Abby, and even like
they were sending her death threats.
Even like the facial reference, the actual person that looks like Abby, like she was getting like death threats. Like, what are you like? She has nothing to do with this. You guys are crazy.
Bunch of losers that like probably like live like in their parents' basement. My game, you ruined it, Neil Druckmann. Yeah, those people are losers.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm getting like the discussions around that game were so horrible. Like the people being like, it was just like so toxic. Like, oh, your agenda. There's an agenda in this game. Like, it's like okay, like, sorry, I'm done ranting. Like,
I mean, I had problems with the game, but like they weren't
those
none of the problems that that those other people were complaining about. Man, it was
a really toxic. I remember it was really toxic when that game came out, like because it got leaked. The story got leaked like a month or 2 before the game came out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and people were freaking out. Like I remember like seeing like videos online and be like, I won't be buying this game. Like it's like okay, well you don't even give it a chance. Like, sorry, I'm done with my rant. No, it's a masterpiece, 10 out of 10. I'm stoked though. It'll be weird. I think, like you said, I think they have their work cut out for them. But I'm like I'm all in. Like,
oh yeah,
whatever they put out at this point, I'm like, I'm sold.
Well, they did such a stellar job with season 1. Like,
yeah,
it only makes me excited for season 2. Like,
Which I think we're going to be waiting probably a year or two, right? Would be my guess.
I would say
Yeah.
at least 2 years.
Because they haven't even started filming or even writing, I don't think. I mean, they maybe are just now starting to write.
Yeah, how are they going to come up with the story?
But I mean, there's still a lot in the
I know, I'm just
writing
kidding.
process. But I mean, because they filmed, I think it took a long time to shoot the first season too. I think it was like a relatively long shoot, if I remember correctly.
I think so.
So I would assume we see season 2 this time of year, 2025 would be my guess.
Sure.
But that would be 2 years from now.
It's doable. It's doable.
Yeah. And it also makes me excited if they take 2 years for that, and then it's maybe another. I mean, I bet they could probably. I wouldn't be surprised if they're filming season 2 and 3 concurrently.
Oh, probably.
Would be my guess. So I think there probably would be a shorter turnaround for. I could even see them doing something like, season 2 and 3 come out like less than a year apart, maybe, or a year. I could see there being a way faster of a turnaround for those. But then, I mean, it gives me hope that like we could maybe have, if they make a third game, because I don't want them. You don't want to have like the Game of Thrones thing where like I would still rather have the third video game before like a further continuation of the story on television.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I mean, the games did it first, and the show is the adaptation of.
Yeah, I don't want to have it the other way around.
Yeah,
since it started that way, so I think that gives them time. I mean,
I agree.
Naughty Dog's working on that Last of Us multiplayer game currently, which I'm excited for because I really like the factions mode from The Last of Us, the first one.
Yeah.
So I think it's like a way more fleshed out version of that. And I would assume they're just going to make The Last of Us Part 3 would be my guess. After that, I feel like there's too much money. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, with the hype of the show too.
Yeah,
like,
I was gonna say part 2 did exceedingly well. Yeah, and then like Mick said with the
show's
show,
major.
it's
I
now
think the
like
part 1
a
remake,
franchise.
yeah.
I mean,
And I do want them to like. I mean, after how part 2 end, like I want one more. I don't want them to make like keep milk. I don't want them to run into the ground. But
They
I
should
like,
know when to stop.
They need one more, I think, to like.
Because the worst thing that could happen to this is it turns into The Walking Dead.
Oh my gosh, I would.
It should just be terrible.
I mean, they could do fun stuff in that universe, but I would almost rather just make one more game, and finish Ellie's story. I would think
it's the exact opposite of the Star Wars thing for you. It's a smaller universe.
Yep. Yeah. Like I don't want like they could like it would be like ruined if like I'm trying to think like, oh, we found Ellie's dad, like Ellie's real dad. We found her in the world. Oh wow, he survived all that. Like, and he's actually immune, and that's why that's why she's immune. Like,
and it's played by the Walking Dead guy,
Rick Grimes.
Ellie!
Ellie, get in the house. That'd be awesome.
Man, that'd be awful.
You don't want him to show up?
It sells itself, Dave. I don't know. What
Is
you're
this
talking
the
about.
first HBO show, Mick, you've like really watched?
Maybe.
You need to like. There's some like
Watchmen. Curb Your
Watchmen's so good.
Enthusiasm.
Leftover. You need to watch The Leftovers.
I do. I saw
Chernobyl.
that like right next to The Last of Us on Sunday. And I was like,
You
gosh,
should
I gotta
start
watch
it.
that.
It's a quick watch. It's like
Yeah.
I think it's less than 30 episodes for the entire run.
Okay.
And that is like
Flight of the Conchords.
Barry.
Barry. Yeah.
Barry is so good. I love Barry.
There are a lot of great original HBO shows. And Landon and I aren't even mentioning the one because that's all
what
you'll
you're talking
focus on.
about.
So
I still need to watch I need to go back to The Sopranos. I need
Matt
to watch
on!
Boardwalk.
it's what he says. It's one of those things they say.
Oh,
Hey,
that's
Madeline, No, you don't know because you haven't seen.
I
The
always just
Sopranos.
think of like that Christopher.
Hey, Christopher.
Was the Shield? Was that
No,
HBO?
that was.
Or was that Stars?
I think that was FX.
I need to watch that because that's got Walton Goggins in it. I think.
I've heard that's good.
Yeah,
I also
that-
have heard good things about it. And it has the thing in it.
What?
It has the thing in it.
From Fantastic Four.
He's like the main character.
What's his name? Michael
Dukakis?
Oh.
No, Dukakis. Michael
Whoa,
Chiklis.
hey, whoa.
Michael
whoa.
Dukakis is a politician.
Yeah, he's in it.
Yeah, Michael Chiklis.
Yeah.
The Shield.
What else? There's a lot of good shows. South Park's on there, which I think you would like if you gave it a shot.
Did you watch the South Park thing on my profile?
No, I watched it on my profile.
Because I opened my profile and then there it was right on the poop thing. The singing poop.
No,
You should watch.
I watched it.
so
Mick,
good.
the thing I sent you was a YouTube link. So
I know.
what I watched
but
it on was
why is
YouTube.
it? Why does it show
They
up
know.
on my
They
profile?
They know.
I don't know.
It goes under continue watching, and it's right at that scene. You watch it on my account. You poop.
Why would I watch it on your account?
Because that's something that you would do. You'd be like, I'm gonna set this up for Michael, so it's easier for him to click on.
No, I that's too much work for me. The Shield was on
Watch
FX, by the way.
Watch
Too much work for you. You're clicking the same buttons you would do if you were watching it on your profile. What are you talking about?
Dave and I just send each other like images from South Park. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Discord, just like screenshots from episodes. Like that show is like probably some of the hardest I've ever laughed like at anything. Like because it's like just so like insane.
Yeah.
Like
More than Last of Us Part 2?
I think the least funny episode of South Park is funnier than The Last of Us Part 2.
And that's a good thing for The Last of Us and for South Park.
And it's a good thing for South Park. I'm trying to think what other Curb Your Enthusiasm's hilarious. I'm trying to think of other serious shows you would like. There's a lot of good mini series on there, like detective mini series. Mayor of Easttown's really good.
You guys want me to watch freaking Peter Dinklage.
Game of Thrones?
Yeah, that show.
You can
That's
you
really
take it or
good.
leave it.
I would start with something else. I mean, since it ends so, like, I can't believe I'm Game of Thrones is so far down the rankings of shows on HBO because of how they butchered it.
My personal my recommendation for you to start watching HBO shows would be Flight of the Conchords. No joke. That's what I would recommend for you personally, Michael.
Yeah, I'll watch that.
It's 2 seasons long. It's like super funny. It's very like music focused, and both of the characters are great. Well, and all 3 characters are great.
And their
but,
manager.
yeah. You would also probably like that show too, Landon. I know you haven't really seen it, but
I don't like their music though, so I don't know.
I still think you would like the show. Like,
oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
maybe I'll check
I
out
also
the show.
wasn't a huge fan of their music for a long time because of the people who introduced me to their music.
Who, the Bix?
No, but
Wait, who introduced you?
but I
was it?
I grew to like I grew to like the show quite a bit.
Okay.
Tell me off the air.
But yeah,
There's a
lot of good HBO stuff.
Yeah, they're always even though like the shows that I watch that like I don't like care for as much, they're typically still high quality, and they're just like I'm like this just isn't for me. Like so,
I've been wanting to start.
You watch something you're like this is like good, but like it's not.
Yeah.
I've been
Sorry,
wanting to start Perry Mason. I don't know if
Oh,
you've
it's
seen.
so good. It's so good.
Oh, you've watched the first season?
I've watched the first season. Yeah, it's so good.
Okay.
Is that the
Oh.
detective?
I just saw the second season started. Yeah, it's with is it Matthew Reese? I think is his name.
I don't remember.
Maybe not. No.
Perry Mason though, like originally was a show in the 50s
Yeah,
and
yeah.
60s, which I grew up watching every once in a while, and I liked it. And this it's like gritty
Never
kind of
watched
like
that as a kid.
Yes,
origins
the first
of.
season. Yeah. The first season's great. I would highly recommend it.
Well, I saw a trailer the other day, and I was like, man, this show looks like I would really like this. So
No, it's dope.
yeah, so I think I'll start Perry Mason pretty soon.
I'll probably be starting that soon. I gotta finish BoJack. It's really hard to have that like my main show though, because that is like such a downer. Like it's not funny anymore. Like where I'm at, like it's not. Like there's like funny stuff that happens, but like I feel like I'm not laughing as hard because like I'm like just waiting for like.
Did you get to the fracking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hilarious.
Frack me, Mr. Peanut Butter.
yeah. I was like, oh my god.
Have you guys seen Outlander?
I watched one episode of that.
What is
Is that
that?
any good?
So I watched one episode of it, and I told an old coworker of mine,
Is that like a
and then he
space
made fun
show?
of me watch. No, it's like historical sci-fi kind of like this girl gets like transported back in time.
Oh, Bree watched
it's-
this show, and I thought it looked
I
really
think-
dumb.
I think it is the way it's kind of meant for like
Just say it.
I think it's like kind of like softcore porn for like women. It's probably like I'm pretty sure what it's like. It's kind of demographic.
So I'd probably like it.
Yeah.
The show did not look interesting to me at all.
It's about a girl. It's about this woman that she gets like somehow transported back in time. I think to America during like either the somewhere during some kind of revolution. I can't remember if it's America or like England, Ireland. Sometime like, and she's married, but then she gets transported, and then she like falls in love with another guy, and then like, but somehow like it's like I said, I think it's just softcore porn. So, like, or women or men, I guess if you know.
An English combat nurse from 1945 is mysteriously swept back in time to 1743.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like like a screen adaptation of like a romance novel.
Yeah, I watched the first episode because I thought it was just like a history show, and then I told a coworker about it at my old job, and he's like, that show's for women, and I'm like, yeah, I didn't really like it that much. Like, I thought like the first episode was like intriguing, kind of, but like I never watched it anymore because I was like, I can't be.
You watched the whole thing, didn't you, Landon?
No, I actually didn't because like I was trying to remember. I think it was during the first season that I watched the first episode, and then it was a Stars show, hence the softcore porn title that goes with it. But I can't remember. I never watched anymore. But then I think it just kept getting more and more of a reputation of like not being like great outside of its demographic. So, but if you want to watch it, Mick, we can have watch parties.
I do now.
We can watch Outlander together.
We can bake cookies,
Watch Outlander and gossip.
drink some wine while we watch.
Some wine.
Do you guys want to end the episode with just quick Oscar thoughts?
I was very honored to win Best Actor.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch the Oscars because I was watching The Last
Because
of Us.
because you're not a loser.
Actually, I don't think I've ever watched the Oscars. I just look up stuff that happens. But no, I was very, I guess, for the most part, like happy with how all of like what awards were given out, or at least the awards that I care about.
Puss in Boots: The Last Wish was robbed.
Snubbed because
it was
because
snubbed.
Pinocchio won instead.
Because the Academy loves Guillermo, whatever the heck, del Toro. I'm just kidding. Pinocchio was very good, but I would have actually rather have seen.
It was actually the Disney version that won. You didn't know that?
Gosh.
Tom Hanks did it again.
Please. Pinocchio was really good, but like I kind of would have liked to see. I feel like Pinocchio was the heavy favorite going in for animated. So like
it was a much more artistic movie. I mean, I didn't
Have you seen Puss in Boots: The
I did
Last
not
Wish?
see Puss in Boots. But
Hey. So how do we keep that opinion to yourself until you watch both films?
would you not call Pinocchio very artistic, like its representation?
Technically, it's not even animated.
It's stop motion. So
Doesn't even count.
yeah. One thing I'll say it again, snubbed.
Should have been in the live action category.
Yeah. Live action. No, I would say it's probably more artsy would be the way I would say it. I mean, but Puss in Boots is definitely like the animation is really good in that movie too. And I think the story is probably better. So you should watch it.
I did not think Everything Everywhere All at Once was going to win Best Picture, though.
You didn't?
No, I think I wanted
that it was
it
gonna
to,
win.
but I didn't think it was going to, just because it was up against a lot of more of those like artistic type films.
I feel like Everything Everywhere All at Once is
But
pretty
it won
artistic. Like,
3 acting awards, right?
yes.
Best Picture, Best Director, Best Screenplay.
Best supporting actor, best supporting actress,
Best Actress.
best actress.
Yep. So three acting ones. I was the only award it got that I didn't want it to get is I really wanted Carrie Condon to
For
win Best
Banshees
Supporting
of
Actress from
Inisherin.
Banshees because I thought her acting and her character in that movie were like she was probably my favorite character in that movie, and I thought her acting was like superb. And I liked Jamie Lee Curtis's character and Everything Everywhere All at Once, but like I mean, she was also nominated up against the Daughters actress, and I thought she was a better character and probably acted better than Jamie Lee Curtis in that film. So
I didn't know Jamie Lee Curtis didn't have an Oscar yet.
I don't know. I mean, is she really typically like a serious? She was more like a
Sometimes.
slasher type star, and then like kind of.
Well, I mean,
comedy,
early on,
right?
but I mean, she's been in a lot of movies since then. You know,
Uh-huh.
that's really just like early,
her
early
start.
'80s. That because, or I guess it
She's
was late
literally
'70s.
still doing Halloween movies.
I mean, yes,
Just
I
last
know,
year,
but
Dave. What are you talking about?
I mean, that's where she started, but she's been in a lot since then.
She's like
She was in.
She's like
she was
the
in Knives
OG
Out, a
yeah,
comedy.
she's like the OG scream queen, right? Like, isn't that the term for like act? Like, isn't that a term?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't think she's the OG
is not.
one. I think they've been called
Yeah, her
Scream
mom is
Queens
probably
since
right.
a lot before then.
Her mom did it first.
Landon's like,
But it was cool seeing Shorty win an Oscar.
That was dope.
He was so humble about it too, which is always nice.
His speech,
You
I
need to
watched
watch him in the
his
movie.
speech?
Oh yeah, and watch his speech. But like, in the movie, you will like love his character. He's
so good.
He is such a great character, and you'll be like, man, he deserved this Oscar for like a bunch of different reasons.
I watched his speech and I cried, and I cried during like some of his scenes in the movie, like his like monologue towards the main character.
Close to the end.
Like you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I know
the scene.
exactly
Like, I was
what
like
you're talking
bawling
about.
my eyes out. Like
Yeah, it's
So,
this is such
it's
a
so
good,
like
it's
it's
such
so
a good
good.
movie.
Like And it's all like it's really funny too. Like it's a really
Yes.
like endearing and like but there's some hilarious. I don't even want to spoil like, but there's like some scenes where I'm like I can't even believe they're doing this, but it's so funny. Like I'm like this makes no sense. Like I'm like,
Well, not to sound like a hipster or anything, but I saw their work, Daniel Daniels, before they did any movies. Like probably 11, 12 years ago now. They put videos up on not YouTube, another Vimeo.
Mix a hipster.
They put a bunch of videos up that are like really like wacky and like their style, but super funny. Like I think one is called like Pockets or something, and you'll just have to watch the video. But like, yeah, I was around.
yeah.
I guess that's all.
It's like the first big movie they've done. What was the movie? Did they do a movie before?
They did
Swiss
Swiss
Army
Army Man.
Oh, I haven't seen that. That movie always looked like it was like freaked me out. Like the trailers, like they were like really scared me. But I should check it out.
You should.
It's such a good story. Like I felt like this year there was like a lot of good good stories for like people that won awards.
Like Brendan Fraser was
like that's pretty cool.
Big one.
Like that's like pretty cool for him.
Yeah.
Like
for all the crap that he's been through for like the past 15 plus years probably. Like it's so cool to see someone like that win that award.
Yeah. And then same for Short Round. Like
they both
I can't pronounce
Keon Wen or something.
That sounds close. I just didn't want to butcher it, but that sounded right.
Oh, so you made me butcher it?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. You were so confident though. Like
oh yeah, totally.
Look, if there's someone who's going to say a non-white person's name wrong out of the three of us, I want it to be Michael. Like,
what's that?
What?
Because then it's not me.
But then why do you want it to be Mick over me? He's your brother.
Yeah, Dave. Jeez.
Well, because people will forgive Michael more easily than they'll
forgive me.
forgive Landon.
Oh man.
Ooh, people.
What does that say about
Who even
me?
listens to this?
What does that say about me? Like,
Well, Short Round
looking
was
for a
listening,
reason.
but then his name was butchered. So
Yeah.
Yeah, he was so happy. He just seems like a very happy person too.
And like
he's-
genuinely like shocked and like honored.
yeah, he said he
got
never
it.
thought he would like. He's like, I never thought like I would have this shot.
Yeah.
like kind of thing. Like he thought it like was over. Like
Yeah.
well, he basically
I
didn't
just
act
love
for
when
like
we-
20 years,
yeah.
Yeah.
and then he comes back, and then
I mean, that's a pretty
wins an
crazy
Oscar.
turn to be like, I mean, an iconic. I mean, he's in like two of the. I mean, Temple of Doom is iconic. His character too is iconic.
Iconic.
And then he's
It's
in
an
the
iconic
Goonies.
franchise.
Yeah, he's in the Goonies, which is an iconic. I mean,
He and Brendan Fraser were actually in a movie together.
Encino
oh,
Man.
were they?
Encino Man.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, no, he's like definitely like
Yeah, and then to drop off
well-known
of not,
person.
Yeah, not being in movies for. I mean, he was
Yeah.
like doing behind the scenes stuff, and then come back and win an Oscar. Like that's,
first time nominated. Same with Brendan Fraser.
Yep. Yeah, it's insane. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I both those actors are just so cool and like so ingrained in my childhood. So it was really cool seeing both of them win on the same night.
Yeah.
Even though I haven't seen either of their movies yet.
I mean,
I just like,
can.
it's still like, yeah, that I could still say it's cool.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of other Oscar stuff. I still need to watch The Whale.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen a lot of the Best Picture nominations because there was Top Gun Maverick,
Top Gun Maverick,
Banshees of Inisherin.
All Quiet on the Western Front.
I haven't seen that yet. I need to. Everything Everywhere All at Once. Everything Everywhere All at Once. I watched Triangle of Sadness.
Oh,
I
yeah,
watched
how
the
was
other
that?
night. It was a weird movie. I feel like it was too long. It was like, I want to say it was like 2 hours and like 20 minutes or longer. And like, I'd like somebody else to watch it. I think I overall like probably didn't like most of the movie. I really liked Woody Harrelson's character. He was very good.
I do want to watch the movie.
I would say watch it. It gives a vibe. It's definitely kind of it's a movie. I mean, a lot of the themes are like kind of like poking fun and critiquing like the super wealthy and like kind of like class systems and kind of stuff. But I didn't feel like, and I like movies like that a lot, but I like it when they're done not so much on the nose, or if it is going to be on the nose, I want it to be like really funny. Like it's a dark comedy. And if it's going to be super on the nose, I want it to be really funny. Like a movie like The Menu. But it played it a lot. I felt like it played it way more straight for the most part. And if it's going to be that case, then I want it to be like a movie like Parasite. I feel like is not on it. Like it's very. You can watch the entire movie and be like, I'm not quite sure what they wanted me to think about. You know what I mean? Like where it's definitely telling. It's like it has a point and it's like conveying stuff, but like it's not like beating you over the head with like what the filmmaker's opinions on certain things were. And this felt like way more on the nose. So, but that's just my opinion on it. And it was very long. So.
I will check it out. I did see it was on Hulu, so one of these nights I'll probably watch it. But.
And it's kind of weird because like one of the main actresses, like she died like right before the movie came out, and she was like really young. She was like 32. She died of like some kind of like pneumonia or like lung infection or something. So it's kind of an odd thing. It's like weird watching. It's weird watching a movie with like a young actor or actress in it, like knowing that they're like dead, especially if it's like a newer movie. I feel like weird doing that. Like. They're not doing it, but it just seems odd to watch. Like, oh, this person's not alive anymore. But I'm trying to think if there were any other Best Picture nominations. The Whale.
Best Picture was Avatar, Elvis, The Fabelmans, Tar, and Women Talking. Those are the other ones we have.
I really want to watch Tar. I heard Tar's really good.
Is that with Kate Blanchett?
Yeah. And I want to watch All Quiet on the Western Front also. I heard that was really good.
We should probably wrap, though. We're going a little long.
Sorry, Dave. Whatever, man. If you don't want to talk to me. You're the one that you change what time we record. You're like, I want to record Wednesday nights, and then you're like, I don't want to talk to you guys anymore. It's like, why don't you want to talk? You want to go back to playing games? That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Dave said all the words he's allowed to answer. Like,
didn't I say I'm done talking?
I'm done talking.
All right. Well, I think that's it for this episode then. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you. It's been very fun.
Very, very fun.
Very, very fun.
Much fun has been had.
Okay.
And more to come. Oh.
You're interrupting his outro?
Excuse me.
I thought he was done talking and I was trying to do the Ellie ending, but Mick started talking again and then I started talking. So
promise me that everything you told me about the Oscars is true.
I swear.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Hotkeys podcast. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, CastBox, YouTube, and other podcasting platforms. Visit our website, www.hotkeyspodcast.com. Follow us on Twitter at Hotkeys Podcast and join our Facebook group at facebook.com/HKHotkeys. Please like and review us and subscribe to the show on whichever platforms you use. Finally, you can contact us via email at hosts@hotkeyspodcast.com.